that's where I think a lot of us struggle, especially the tougher type personality people. We struggle to surrender. We struggle to say, okay, Lord, I'm going to wait for you to act. My name is Cathy. My surname is Zamouzaridis, which is quite hard for some people, but it's Greek, and most people just say Zam. So Cathy Zam is good enough. I'm married to Chris, and we have 4 grandchildren. And I was a senior prosecutor in Johannesburg for many, many years, and retired a few years ago. And since then, I've been more busy than what I was when I was prosecuting. So busy with grandchildren, busy with church work, and busy with the last 2 years with underwater hockey. Well, we were also invited to a meeting where they're going to introduce Remembrance and tell us what it's all about. So we went to that meeting, and on the board, the overhead projection, there was one line that said, "This church is for the nuns and the duns." And that really intrigued me, because the nuns meaning people who've never been to church, and the duns, people who are kind of like done with church. And we at that stage fell into that category of being done with church. And I thought, then this is the right church for me. Firstly, I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. My father left us when we were little, and my mom was an alcoholic. And so, I took it upon myself from age 4 or 5, to be the mommy of the house. And to make sure everybody was okay, and to make sure I had a younger sister. My older brother left with my father, so it was just my mom and my younger sister and I. And I became her mommy, and I had to fix her, and I had to fix my mom, and I had to fix everyone around us. And then I had to in my mind, had to fix everyone in my family. So about 25 years ago, I was married, and my late husband suddenly died. And I was left then. We didn't have insurances. We didn't have money. We didn't have anything. So it was like, now you really have to rely on God. And I was working as a pastor at the time in the Eastern Cape. And it was very difficult at that stage it was such a shock, because he died very suddenly, and he died in front of me. There was no ways that I could support myself on what I was earning at that stage. And the one day I was so devastated, just driving away from the church, because I knew that was not going to be the source of sufficient income for me. And I felt, that my husband had died, my ministry was over, and I had no income to survive. It was quite hard. And so I stuck next to the road crying so much because I couldn't drive any further. And at that moment, I got a phone call from an old friend of mine that I prosecuted with years before. And he was now a magistrate in a very big center just off the Eastern Cape. And he asked me, "Do you need a job?" I said, "You don't understand how badly I need a job." But nonetheless, so this was God's way of, just providing for me in such a miraculous way. And so I literally started working back as a prosecutor, as I'd done years before, again, within a week. But you see, I had to come to a place of surrender. And that's where I think a lot of us struggle, especially the tougher type personality people. We struggle to surrender. We struggle to say, okay, Lord, I'm going to wait for you to act. And it was only then that God could start acting, I think. It's like, when you get out of the way, maybe I can do something, So I came to a point of relinquishing to God, releasing everything to God, to trust Him. And the verse Romans 8:28 is my favorite verse in the Bible, that in all things He turns everything to good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. And my life is a living testament to that verse. There is nothing in my life that has happened that God did not turn into good. So I realized that I don't have to fix things. I don't have to fix people. I can take people to the altar and leave them calm. Give over to God, to allow Him to work in my life, to not want to try and control the whole situation and all the people around me, because that was the only way I could cope as a little person, a little girl, is to try and control what I could control around me. And I thought that would be controlling the people that were not acting the way they should, So to come to a place of beyond myself and to say, I will surrender myself and I will allow God to actually act and to do what He needs to do, and not to just do what I think is a good idea, but to hear what He wants me to do, and to stop doing everything that I think I should do, because that just leads to burnout. And all good ideas are not necessarily God ideas. And so to literally hear what is God saying He wants me to do, and then to only do that, and not run around like a crazy person trying to fix everything in my own strength. My experience in Remembrance has been so different, because just over a year ago, my stepson passed away unexpectedly of a brain aneurysm. And it was just incredible how everybody just rallied here and did so much for us. They actually did everything for us, from flower arranging to everything and people just gave up their whole afternoons, that some people, even the technical guys, they just gave up their time. It was just an overwhelming love. It was just waves and waves and waves of love. We felt so loved and so supported, and so it was really amazing. The first thing I always say to people, because a lot of people, we've had a few deaths now in Remembrance and stuff, and people then say, but I don't know what to say. Well, that's the thing. You don't need to say anything. You just need to go there. You need to be with them. You need to hug them. You need to tell them sorry, and then let them talk. You'll find that most of them want to talk at that stage, and most want to just get out their photo books and their phones and show you all the photos. And you need to just be patient and look at all the photos. Even if it's an hour of photos, that's fine. One lady we went to, her husband passed away, and she wanted to do communion. So then we do communion with her. You see, you don't have to feel that you have to go and fix this situation, because you actually can't. You can't take away their hurt. You can't take away their pain. You can't shorten their grief process. You just have to be there. I've learned over the years to risk with God, to start using the giftings He's given me. All of us are gifted. All of us are so gifted. But so many of us don't use those gifts, and that's such a sad thing. And I just want to encourage people, God didn't give you that gift just to put it, like the Bible says, put the lamp under a bowl, so the darkness is there. No, you need to go. And even if you start practicing on your close friend and just say, listen, I might be wrong, but, this is what I feel the Lord is saying. Start practicing. Start it in your home cells if you don't want to, start it in a big church. And there's grace if you get it wrong. That's fine, But the Lord will always give you what needs to be said to that person. So it's a matter of, faith and risking with God and trusting Him. That's it, trusting Him.